and welcome to the 1%ers Performance Podcast, coming to you from Combermary and Gadigal country in Australia. We pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging, and we acknowledge the First Nations people of these lands. This is the podcast exploring how small changes make a big impact. I'm Mario Buchs, and together with my co-host Tim Buxton, we'll discover the unseen edges of peak performance to help athletes, teams and leaders unlock their exponential growth. And now, it's time to dive in and find the 1% that changes everything. Hello, Tim. Welcome back, guys. Tim, how are you?
Mario, great. So good to be in the studio. Yeah, look, mate, Mario, you've been in my ear about today's topic that we want to discuss, and I'm really, being excited to see where you're going to take us, because it is probably one of the key components or practices of characteristics, really, I should say, of people that are extremely successful. They all possess this ability that you want to talk to us today about. So why don't you reveal this today's 1%er?
So today we're going to talk about funnel the focus. That could be perceived as a little bit broad, but we're just going to dig in a little bit deeper. I'm going to ask Tim a few questions, how he sees it, and then it's going to be open for discussion. As always, we'll give you our side of things, our view, what we've seen in our life, how we see others who are successful, like Tim rightfully says, there's always these one things driven. We've gone through this whole, motivation, drive, bring it to the finish line. But what we didn't do, and deliberately, is give you even more tools or some food for thought. All right, how do these people actually start, right? So with all the noise that we have that are around us, so we're going to talk a little bit about the awareness. First and foremost, we need to be aware of what's going on around us. But I'll kick off just with one question now. The first question: what does funnel the focus mean to you personally, Tim? Either in sport or beyond, in your life?
Yeah, you know what? I think when I hear the word focus, I'm reminded of Jerry Seinfeld was interviewed, and he made this statement, and I'm probably not going to get it perfectly correct, but he talks about how there's one thing that a lot of people are lacking today, and it's the ability to focus. And they're not achieving great things because they're just constantly distracted, and they're spread thin, and they don't focus on one thing and get really, really good at it. And it just kind of made me chuckle a bit because, someone diagnosed with ADHD, focus is a neurological challenge as well as, just a part of, my curious nature. I'm curious about lots of different things. Easily distracted was one of the main things my teachers would always write on my report cards. And so obviously I'm really personally like, oh man, if there's anything you can help me with is focus. But in so many ways, a lot of people think, money is the most important commodity, or time. People would say, no, it's time. We only have, life is short. Our time is short. But what's more important than time is actually our attention. Because you can have lots of time, but you are focused on things that just aren't really important in life and don't give you meaning. A lot of people, have nannies and, chauffeurs and chefs, and they're buying all this time to do what they want, and they end up still spending their time scrolling the phone or being miserable, like chasing after things, happiness in various different ways. And they're not, fulfilled because they're not able to have that deep sense of focus on what really matters to them. And so for me, and we all know the social media and the AI, like the technological revolution that we're in, it's this competition for our attention, and it's advertisement dollars. And if they can just steal our focus away from what might be important to us, to like buy their thing or to be focused on what they're selling. So I guess it's like when I think about funnel the focus, I'm like, wow, what is this process, Mario? Like, tell me, what is this thing that's going to help me focus on what's most important in life, and ultimately the outcome is achieve that which I'm really want to achieve in life. Like, and for me, that's what brings me the most fulfillment, you know? So yeah, that's kind of what comes to mind when I think
Excellent.
about funnel of focus.
The good thing is you've already answered the next thought of mine, although, to be honest, I wasn't thinking about the next question before people are saying, oh, you didn't give Tim all your focus. And I'm actually teaching this in my sales training. The worst thing people do, not only is their mind wandering when someone's talking, they're already thinking about the next question before they've listened to the answer of what someone has said. So this is definitely something I had to practice in the last few years, and podcasting helps me immensely
Mm.
with this. Yeah, the next question was just, what are the biggest distractions? We all know them. This is the funny thing. Most things that you and I talk about on this show, people already know. We just remind people sometimes, "Oh, of course, I forgot all about that." The other day I was in the gym with my personal trainer and we were talking about my goals for this year. And I was saying, yeah, this, that, and the other. And he says, by the way, Mario, don't forget why you're even here. You're here because of your bone mineral density. And I'm like,
Mm.
okay. So first and foremost, I'm in the gym to go and lift heavy stuff. And this is good. We need this reminder. That's all we're doing on the 1%ers Performance podcast. We're putting people back on the straight. And with funnel the focus of today's topic, I think we can help a few people along. I mean, how do you think elite performers decide what actually stays in this funnel versus what gets filtered out?
Yeah.
I mean, you've been around elite
Well,
performers already a lot in your life in different
yeah.
sports. How do they
I, I,
operate, do you think?
you know, when you think what distracts me a lot, I'd hate to admit it. I think the things that distract me a lot are often my things I'm afraid of, my fears. Um, and that can draw me into just worrying and ruminating over things. It can often lead me into task paralysis because I'm just afraid. And I think one of the things I've noticed with people that are successful is they don't focus so much on fears. They don't focus so much on failures or what if I fail. They focus a lot on what brings them joy, what goals that they're chasing, and I think that's a really important distinction thing to make, and it's something I know as you ask, what do I focus, what steals my focus, and it's just so easy, to be caught in the trap of not only just what could happen, but then being overwhelmed by again just a story, that's in my head that has no real grounding in reality. It's just could be to do with what's happened in the past, or again what other people are yelling at us from the media and social media. I think we listen to too many voices, and I would say, getting a few safe voices, people in your life that speak that know you. You're one of them. You always speak, real positive things to me and encouragement things, and I think choosing to hold on to, to really seek out what are the things that bring me joy, what are the things that motivate me and inspire me to do good. So yeah, that's kind of, I think, a real challenge for me and something I want to aspire to.
Awesome. Very, very good answer. I really like that fear. I always say, when people talk to me and come to me, he says, oh, what if, this and this happens? I says, what if we don't fail?
Yeah.
What if we do inspire the magic and God knows what's happening? This is this whole awareness to know where we are. So we always have to be in the moment, the past, the future, blah, 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 blah. People talk about that. But if we're in the moment, once we're aware of what's going on, we can then shift. And it's always about this shift. And you speak about this many times on our podcast and also when we have our private conversations, uh, going from an awareness pattern into a precise execution, right? This is for me something that I'm always and yeah, and around that, this is something we could discuss. How does this happen? The next stage for me would then be you're in that zone. When you're doing stuff and you forget about time,
Yeah.
Suddenly 7 hours have passed and you've done a hell of a lot. You've done whatever you were setting out to do. That is also part of being focused on something, right?
Mm.
Meaningful. So being aware, we need to listen to the right signals as well. When is it time to focus? Or in our case, like we're talking about, funnel the focus. Yeah. So when 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 do you think, I mean, I know for everybody it's a challenge, but when do you feel that shift? Okay, I'm aware now. Let's go into execution mode. How do you
Well,
do
I
that?
I think there has to be clarity, right? Clarity on what it is that you want. Clarity on your vision for the future. And it doesn't mean it has to be hyper detailed in what the outcome is, but I think it has to be real clear in the direction that you're heading. My life has been, I'm heading in this direction, and this is where I'm going. I think the destination's here. And quite often I've never got to the destination, but because I've been heading in a clear direction on where I want to go and what's driving me and what's important in my life, whether it be meaningful relationships, friends can come and go, but I've always valued having a meaningful friendships and deep relationships. And so when that becomes an important priority for you, then it makes it easy to make decisions, right? On executing, if this is my value. In an organization that I lead, You Belong, we have every monthly meeting we get together. And one of the things I always talk about is what's our when in doubts. And our when in doubts are basically reaffirmations of our values as an organization. And you don't lean on your values when everything's going great. You lean on your values when things aren't going so well, or you're in a place of doubt. What do I do? Like, what should we do? That's when you go back to, well, what are my values? And so one of our most recent ones was, when in doubt, collaborate, don't wait. In other words, if you've got an issue that you've got to solve, don't wait to talk to somebody else on the team about it. Like, collaborate with other people, reach out for help. Don't wait for things to get worse. And that comes back to our values of, being collaborative innovators and being curious, optimistically curious. We're not afraid if there's a problem to share it, because we know the other people aren't going to judge us for it. They're going to be like, okay, let's look at this from a problem to solve. How are we going to settle this out? So back to what you were saying is, when you get clarity on your values and you get clarity on your vision, and I like to say your vision is more your direction rather than like the destination, that is when you can double down on executing. And that's why what you said earlier, step one of this funnel is this, like, you've got to have that phase of awareness and really reflecting and meditating and thinking about who it is that you are and what it is you're determined to do, and setting out to do. So execution, what does execution look like then any thoughts on that, Mario? And what would it look like to you?
I think execution is, you know, right? So you've got that drive. We're going back to that middle part where you need to have that drive, and you need to
Yeah.
understand execution means you're actually taking the tools that you've got, which you've learned over time. So we're always building tools. Whatever we're doing and talking about here, we're putting tools into our toolbox. Because at the end of the day, and I don't want to jump ahead, we need to make decisions and focus while we're under pressure, because that's probably 90% of the time. We're not sitting back and we have plenty of time to think about it. We need to be able to have a toolbox with us where we can make these right decisions. So we're executing, we're going into drive mode. Then we want to get into either a zone or a flow state. We've spoken about that when it comes to athletes, rather than a grinding motion, right? If it's just a grind, we're back in the coal mine.
Yeah.
We're mining coals with our tools that we have available there. That's fine if people are happy like that. But I think if we want to go and breathe air, right, eventually we need to come up out of that grinding phase and just be in that flow state. So I
Yeah.
think execution, there's no one rule where you can just say, yep, that's how it works. Using your tools and executing, because you mentioned belief, whatever it is, that you believe in, whatever you think is the right way to go. And then having those outside people just checking in on you, having that accountability, saying, hey, maybe, you know, and that is where we then need, at the end of this, I would like to be in a state of mind where I can make this focus driven execution under pressure. It's like
Mm.
walking through, I don't know how to compare it best, but it's like you've got all this noise around you, all these people around you, and you don't have time. It's like darts, world championship darts. These guys, they come on, there's a bit of a party, but they're focused on the dartboard. Yes, the music's on, they're high fiving people. They're not really listening to what anybody is saying because they're focused on the dartboard and their opponent, which in probably 3, 4, 5 minutes, the game starts. And it's all about hitting 180s. It's going through that crowd. Yeah, you can hear it, but it's like dull. And you can see the dartboard clearly. You can see that lipstick of the triple 20 clearly. And that's where I see my analogy. That's how I look at it. So when I've got
It's the people talk about meditation, right? And they can do it when they're like everything's perfect. But can you meditate when the jackhammer's going? Can you meditate when, can you just let the noise be noise and not again pull you away, distract you, give you I think that's such a powerful being able to do that is so important. Obviously, that's like the ultimate state to do it with it all. But coming back to what you were saying earlier, you've got this execution phase that then leads to the flow. How important is though being intentional about eliminating distractions once you know that the direction that you're going, or once you know what you're wanting to achieve? Like, can you talk a bit about, I guess, the any tools around how to kind of eliminate distractions as well?
definitely having that end picture. This is for
Mm.
me, I'm a strong visualization guy. You know that. You've experienced it with
Yeah,
me
for
when we
sure.
did races and stuff. So my tool is definitely visualization. Where do I want to get to? There has to be an end goal. There has to be an objective. Um, you know, if you build a road, you need to know where that road leads to. We ran on a road, and
Yep.
some famous New Zealand construction guy back in the 19th century under British ruling and government built us a road that we were running on in Iraq and Kurdistan. Same thing here. He knew he had to get to Soram, let's say, right? In a
Mm.
way. So for us, it's the same. Eliminate the noise happens automatically by having that focus. Once you're focused, the noise will go easy. That's my experience. People can hammer into you. You can see that end goal. You can see the finish line if it's a running, and AFL, take AFL. He's got those posts. And if he's in the zone, they are miles apart, right? The guy
Yeah.
putting under pressure and he's got the focus and he can see the line. That hole is massive, right?
Yeah.
It's like a lid cover size, right? A round lid. If you don't have a focus, that hole is not even the size of your ball, so the ball will never go in.
Yeah.
Would be the way I see this.
Yeah.
Everybody has their own way of doing this. As we round this out now, I think people can think about this, say, okay, what am I doing? So just sit down and say, okay, how much did I achieve today of what I actually started off in the morning? That is always I don't know. I'll invent a new English word probably, but my day of failure, in a way, failure is a nasty word, but it is a kind of why
Yeah.
did I not achieve everything that I set out to achieve? Or why is it I have a day where I set out to do 5 things and none of them got done?
Right.
Was noise in the way? Unimportant stuff? 53,000 phone calls that I don't even need to take? Why am I getting the phone calls? Why isn't someone else picking the phone? And so on. That would be my first thing, to sit down at night and say, hold on, where can I do better tomorrow? How do I focus? Be aware of what I'm doing wrong or what's happening around me, and then just execute just for one day and see what happens.
Do you
Finish
think that
something.
Do you think that sometimes we're just caught in the, I think I need to be doing this stuff. I think I should be doing this stuff. And maybe, just maybe, if we just didn't, like how much activity are we giving ourselves to that isn't necessary, so to speak? I don't know. I think about that because sometimes, we're just busy being busy, right? And like you said, we're not, if we've just got a few things that if we could achieve this, then we'd be miles ahead rather than all that, activity that we got caught up in.
There's a simple example, if you go away on holiday for 2 or 3 weeks and you come back to work and you look at your email inbox, you've got 300 emails, whatever.
Yeah.
Which ones do we attend to first, Probably not the first one that came in a day after you left, because that might have fixed itself. So
Right. Yeah.
you've got 300 emails. I attend to the latest ones. If the others haven't been solved, then obviously we have a bit of a disaster,
And sometimes we train people that we always email back and we always do. And so that kind of we train people how we operate. If we always respond at 10 o'clock at night to a text message, then people will message us at 10 o'clock at night. If we never do, they probably won't.
Exactly.
Kind of mentality. Yeah. I think there's a lot of stories that need to be rewritten. I think underlying it, I think it's digging down into what are those driving factors for us? What is that deep down, things that are really important, because sometimes fear is just doing the talking, right? And we don't realize it. And it's not that which is really, uh, and in it to our life and getting us to where it needs to get to. And maybe that story or that voice helped us get to where we are now, but it's not what we need for where we need to go next, right? And so we need to really get real with ourselves and with, because usually we wouldn't be at this point if things were just going great. Usually there's a
Exactly.
point of change, there's a point of like progress that we're actually looking to make. That's why we're at this point.
Good. Thanks a lot, Tim. People, just sit down. Task number one.
Yeah.
As we progress through the next few podcasts, we'll alternate between having a guest on, having us on. We'll work through some more little tasks and challenges on a daily basis. But just sit down and say, hey, how often today did I lose my focus? I lose it all the time. I'm like,
Yeah.
who am I to talk about this here? I'm like all over the place, full-time job, running a business, trying to keep everyone else happy, running a lot if I can and all this kind of stuff. So yeah, we lose our focus. What's important to us? What did we not achieve during that day? There's always things that have to be done. Of course, we go to work. If your job is X, you have to do X. If you're an accountant, you don't like numbers, then maybe it's a time to kind of,
Right.
an Excel sheet. But if you are an accountant and you love numbers and you do Excel sheets, that's probably a big part of your day because you enjoy it. You do it. But there's other things that, how do you get your business or where you're at in your business to, to move forward a little bit, and most of us are employees, not employers. So yeah, there's certain tasks we have to do. End of story. But as long as we don't have to worry about our own good and we always do our best when we go to work, then and be in a safe environment. So yeah.
Yeah, great stuff. I love that focus is critical, and I love, that the beginnings of a strategy on how to funnel that focus. It is definitely a huge one percenter, change that has exponential impact on people's lives and their performance. So thanks for leading us into that, Mario. Looking forward to next episodes. That we've got some guests coming up and chatting with them too. So I love, looking forward to what lies ahead. For now,
Thanks,
peace
Tim.
out, right?
Vibing out.
Thanks for tuning in to the One Percenters podcast. That's a wrap for another episode, and we're proud to be recording from Australia on Kombumerri and Gadigal country. And we honour the traditions and knowledge of the First Nations people and pay our respects to elders, past and present. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review. We want to hear from you, the questions or topics you would like us to cover, and you can easily do that in the Spotify app. And for those of you that are ready to discover your peak performance edge today, just head on over to our website. That is top.coach. That's TOPP.coach. And start unlocking your unlimited potential with us today. We would love to work with you. And that's it for now. Until next time, what are you waiting for?